Time to bring you news on this channel. I am Umudu Gajaga, and thanks very much for joining us. Our top stories. Former AFPRC junta member Yankuba Toure arrested and charged. Training on anti-money laundering in Africa held today. The European Union launches clean energy program in the Gambia. Those are our top stories, and now the news in detail. The government of the Gambia hereby confirms the arrest, detention and charge of Mr. Yankuba Toure, a former AFPRC junta member and minister who held various portfolios under Yahya Jammeh's 22-year presidency. Babukar C has more on this release.
Yankuba Toure, who was arrested earlier on Saturday, is under police custody and faces criminal charges under Section 36A and B of the TRRC Act 2017. Police investigations into the matter are ongoing, and Mr. Toure is expected to appear in court sometime this week. Toure's arrest follows a complaint by the Ministry of Justice over concerns expressed by the Truth, Reconciliations and Reparations Commission that the subject was either attempting to tamper or interfering with its witness, ex-Army Sergeant Alaji Kanyi, or attempting to pervert the course of justice by concealing evidence that could potentially incriminate him and junta colleagues in alleged atrocities and extrajudicial executions meted out to citizens whilst in power. Sergeant Kanyi, a confessed murderer and assassin who appeared before the TRRC on Thursday, the 28th of February 2019, provided probably the most damning testimony against the former regime as he revealed the harrowing details of state-sanctioned murders, among them the chilling finality of former Finance Minister Usman Koro Sise, in which Mr. Toure is implicated. In view of this matter, the Gambia government wishes to re-echo the admonition of the TRRC's Vice Chairperson, Mrs. Adelaide Sose, and Lead Counsel, Mr. Esa Fall, that the Commission's mandate was to establish the truth, reconcile Gambians, and make recommendations to government. Furthermore, the Gambia government wishes to make it categorically clear that any attempt to interfere with TRRC witnesses, their testimonies, or tampering and or concealing evidence formally or informally is utterly criminal and punishable by law. Therefore, the Gambia government urges citizens to take the TRRC very seriously and will not under any circumstances condone any attempt by anybody to interfere with its operations either directly or indirectly, and any person or persons found wanting will face the full force of the law.
The Gambia would be the first country in Africa to provide renewable energy electrification to all public schools and health facilities. This follows the launch of a renewable energy program meant to improve access to clean energy. Aliou Cisse reports.
The Gambia Renewable Energy Program is jointly funded by the European Union, European Investment Bank and the World Bank. The European Union is providing 106 million euros for the clean energy program to be implemented by NAWEC. This, according to the EU, includes 65 million euros under a 25-year long-term agreement from the European Investment Bank and a 41 million euro grant from the European Union budget. In addition, the project will also be supported by 35.7 million euros financing from the World Bank. Attila Lajos is the EU ambassador to the Gambia.
With this project, the Gambia will be the first country in Africa, if not the only country in the world, to have provided renewable energy electrification for all public schools and health facilities, fostering children's education and healthcare provision to stimulate a more inclusive economic growth.
The program is expected to generate 20 megawatts of solar energy, and 1,100 rural schools and health facilities are expected to benefit. Ambassador Lajos said there is no condition attached to the loan, adding that the Gambia remains a democratic country. Finance and Economic Affairs Minister Mambouri Njie expresses appreciation to the EU's continued support to the Gambia. The Gambia-EU cooperation, he added, will enable the country to achieve the targets set out in the National Development Plan and meeting the Sustainable Development Goals.
The EU has always stood on the side of the Gambian population. Despite all the challenges, the delegation of the European Union in the Gambia never closed its office and assistance never stopped. The EU affirms its support to the democratic transition in the Gambia and to the realization of the National Development Plan. The number of projects being funded in the Gambia by the EU is a testimony to the mutually beneficial relationship that exists between the Gambia and the EU.
After what's equals to 8 years of European Investment Bank financing absence in the Gambia, Maria So Barragan of the European Investment Bank has this to say.
In the last 5 years, the European Investment Bank has provided 50 billion with a B, 50 billion euro of new financing for long-term energy investments, and this has mobilized more than 200 billion euro of investments in the energy sector. EIB is one of the leading financiers in renewable energy worldwide, and we have been backing some of the world's biggest wind farms and innovative wind farms, every time pushing their technology and looking for more and affordable clean energy for all. Let me tell you about our activity in Africa. Last year, the European Investment Bank lent more than 3 billion euros in projects in Africa. And over the last decade, we have been providing more than 6.4 billion euros for energy investments only in Africa.
Energy Minister Fafa Sanyang and NABEX Managing Director Baba Fatajo both emphasized the importance of the renewable energy at a time when the world is fighting against climate change. The program, they added, will help in achieving wider access to electricity. The program implementation is expected to last for 24 months, says the NABEX boss. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
The Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, of the Gambia, under the support of Strengthening Anti-Money Laundering Capacities in West Africa project, funded by the European Union in collaboration with Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, on Monday organized a training session for financial institutions aimed at harmonizing the implementation of preventive measures on money laundering both in the Gambia and within the West African sub-region. Ajibintu Drame has more on this story.
The training is meant to enhance effective methods and implementation of anti-money laundering measures in the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa member states. It also specializes on the economic community of West African states responsible for facilitating the adoption and implementation of anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism in West Africa. Dr. Siku A.K. Jabi, first Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, says stakeholders should have fast-tracked its objective to eradicate the issue at hand. He highlights the effects of money laundering and adds that stakeholders have crucial roles to play in safeguarding their institutions and protecting the financial sector.
Has devastating effects on national economies in terms of huge distortion of economic fundamentals, isolation in global financial markets. We all know most of our banks are losing corresponding banking. Increasing economic crimes, among others. No economy is immune to it. It can exist in the emerging and developing economies with serious socio-economic consequences, with developing economies more exposed and vulnerable to its exploits. The association of developing countries associated with this menace is mainly due to lack of relevant AML laws or lax regulatory environment, weak enforcement regimes, vulnerable financial systems, along with persistent civil and political unrest.
Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs highlights the importance of the workshop and demerits of money laundering. He concludes by urging participants to put the knowledge gained into practice.
The Gambia has taken giant steps to put in place legal, institutional and other measures to fight money laundering and terrorism financing in the country. This is evident in the enactment of the Anti-Money Laundering Act in 2002. This was followed by the enactment of the Money Laundering Act 2003. However, cognizant of the deficiencies identified in the Gambia's anti-money laundering and combating of terrorism regime, I therefore look forward to a fruitful deliberation and hope you will all make best use of the lessons to be learned during the course of this week and adopt best practices in your various institutions. In other words, when you get back to your institutions, you should also make sure what you've learned here, you put it in practice.
Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
The Gambia Ports Authority, the Gambia Maritime Unit, in collaboration with various security units on Monday, held a maritime security exercise meant to assess the level of preparedness of government agencies in dealing with emergencies at the port. Ansumana Isunyasi reports.
The Gambia Ports Authority, in collaboration with various security units in the country, on Monday held the Maritime Security Exercise. The simulation isometrics is organized in compliance with the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code, requiring ports to conduct an exercise at least once every year, with not more than 18 months between exercises. Speaking at the end of the exercise, Port Facility Security Advisor Mam Pate Damfa said the exercise is aimed at testing the operational effectiveness of the Port Facility Security Plan and Port Contingency Plan.
So the purpose of this exercise today generally is in compliance with the ISPS code. And during these exercises, we've tested the Port Facility Security Plan as well as the Port Contingency Plan. So the Port Contingency Plan mainly deals with the safety aspect, response to emergencies that are likely to affect the port. Then the security aspects entails the ISPS code requirements. As you can see, the presence of the Navy, the Fire and Rescue Services, the Gambia Police Force, is to manifest that security security is not only a necessity, but we should cooperate in all areas to make this port safe and secure.
For his part, Navy Captain Farah Job said the exercise is meant to gauge the readiness of government agencies in providing a coordinated response to possible threats to maritime security and port-related emergencies.
And this is the first time, and we have seen that it has gone well. The gaps are not many, though resources are not very much available, and we are going to improve from there. For the side of the Navy, it is also a test in our preparedness, that is our response timing, our expectation in controlling the situation and then diffusing the threat, which is a bomb threat in this case. The fire and ambulance services were also called upon simultaneously to respond to a fire outbreak, which was a major one that went beyond the means of the port to control.
Speaking earlier, Usman Boj, the Seaport Station Officer, said the exercise is highly significant while lauding performance of various security units that took part in the exercise.
All stakeholders were present, and definitely they have did a big role in terms of evacuation, helping the victims to transport them to the hospital. This we are done in a professional way.
Meanwhile, the exercise management team is expected to draw up an action plan in relation to the exercise to be presented to the management of the Gambia Ports Authority and Gambia Maritime Authority. Ansumane Sonyasi for QTV News.
A fundraising event was on Saturday organized by the Female Lawyers Association of the Gambia. The proceeds would be used to promote women and children's rights and to settle legal issues for women. Babukar Sise reports.
The event was a family fun day and a lunch on sale. Speaking at the event, the president of the Female Lawyers Association of the Gambia tells us the aim of the association and the significance of the occasion.
The main aim of the Family Fun Day that we're having today is because we wanted to bring women, children and husbands together to have fun. It's also a fundraising because it will help us run what we call our legal clinic in the Secretariat, where women come and get free representation when they have matters that they want to go to court with and cannot get representation. Or even if they don't want to go to court but want to settle certain disputes that they have and they can't afford it, we assist them. So the whole purpose of this event today is to raise funds to be able to sustain the legal clinic that we run. The main aim of our association is to help women and to protect them and let them know their rights, and children. Whenever we talk about women, we talk about the children, especially the girl child.
State Council, Ministry of Justice highlights some work of the association.
The organization helps a lot with respect to women issues, going to court for women and children, conducting sensitization, awareness raising, going to meet the community, going to the grassroots, meeting with the women in the society in order to discuss with them, to enhance their knowledge on the law, as well as their rights and the responsibilities, and as well as what they should expect from the society, as well as when it has to do with the issues of legal matters. The Female Lawyers Association helps women in terms of getting access to justice, that is by going to court, representing them in court.
Although this is the first time such an event has been organized, the president of the association is optimistic of success and says the profit would be put into good use.
This is the first time that FLAG is actually having this program, of this nature, and so far it's very successful because we have the lawyers who've come, who've done all the cooking by themselves and brought to sell. It's more of a bring and buy sell idea. So all the food you see here today was prepared by lawyers of the organization, and they're reselling it, so all the profits that are going to be made are going to be given back to the association.
Female Lawyers Association of the Gambia also advocates for the eradication of gender-based violence against women, girls, men and boys. Babakar Sise, QTV News.
A multi-sectoral school seminar on sexual violence was recently organized by the Girls Agenda, a female-led organization geared towards empowering girls and women in different areas. The seminar raised awareness on sexual violence as a barrier to attainment of girls' education and self-actualization. Jenna Basonga reports.
The seminar brought together students, school teachers, parents, media personnel, and authorities from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, the Popularized Sexual Offences Act 2013, as well as the educational policy that addresses sexual violence and special protection for girls, was discussed. Speaking at the ceremony, Alassane Jide, board member Girls Agenda, said the fight against sexual violence is a collective responsibility. That is why the Girls Agenda decided to organize this multi-sectoral school seminar.
I'll explain the stakeholders who are involved into this fight, and one of them, and very key, our parents. Mr. Kambi have mentioned it in his speech that parents have key roles to play when it comes to issues of sexual violence. Parents need to understand we have our culture and we need to keep our very good cultures, but this culture should not make us silent about issues that are affecting us. So therefore, when issues of sexual violence happen in our society, we should not keep it close. We should go out and talk about it and report it to the right people. And the government, of course, have key roles. And Mr. Drame have mentioned and highlighted some policies that government have put in place to ensure that the perpetrators face this law and they are dealt accordingly.
Mustafa Drame from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education said when girls are in an environment free from sexual violence, they would be more confident and able to realize their full potentials.
Schools should be places where everyone, especially girls, feel safe and protected. It will also provide opportunities for all stakeholders to acquire more information on how to report cases of sexual violence and how to get help. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Girls Agenda for their initiative in organizing such an important seminar. They have really demonstrated their quest in ensuring that sexual violence is eradicated, and I am sure that by the end of the program, girls and women will be motivated to speak out and fight to curb sexual violence.
He further called on stakeholders to create gender-fair policies in the education sector and institutions in general. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basongo.
Before we end this bulletin of the news, a recap of our main stories. The government of the Gambia hereby confirms the arrest, detention and charge of Mr. Yankuba Toure, a former AFPRC junta member and minister who held various portfolios under the Yahya Jammeh's presidency. The Gambia would become the first country in Africa to provide renewable energy electrification to all public schools and health facilities. This follows the launch of a renewable energy program meant to improve access to clean energy. The Financial Intelligence Unit (FIU) of the Gambia, under the support of Strengthening Anti-Money Laundering Capacities in West Africa project, funded by the European Union in collaboration with Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, on Monday organized a training session for financial institutions aimed at harmonizing the implementation of preventive measures on money laundering both in the Gambia and within the West African sub-region. That's it for this edition of the news. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.